General of Division Desaix was one of the best warlords of the French Republic, a hero of the Battle of Marengo. Desaix was born on August 17, 1768, in a noble family. After he received education at 15 in the Royal Military School, he enrolled in the service of the Breton Infantry Regiment. For some time he served in the garrisons of Grenoble, where he very quickly got into the sight of the superiors. Pretty soon, Desaix was an adjutant of Colonel Dumas, where he proved to be the best. After King Louis was overthrown, Desaix openly spoke against such a measure, and he also condemned the terror of the revolution. As a result, for his position, he was arrested based on the order of the people's representatives and was jailed for nearly 2 months. In October 1792, with the assistance of the Minister of War Carnot, Desaix regained his freedom and went back to the military service. As soon as the war of the First Anti-French Coalition began, Desaix immediately rose to protect his country. Fighting in the Army of the Rhine, Desaix was promptly promoted in the service, and soon, he was assigned to command the division. Even in the most dangerous battles, Desaix demonstrated exceptional countenance and bravery. On August 20, 1793, at the Battle of Lautenburg, he received a penetrating injury to the cheek. Not being able to speak, Desaix commanded his troops with gestures. For success in this battle, right on the battlefield, Desaix was promoted to the brigadier general. Already in October that year, Desaix again revealed outstanding military abilities in many battles. The commanders of Army of the Rhine were impressed by the actions of a young general, and so, at age 26, Desaix has become the youngest general of the division of the French Republic. However, despite military merit and devotion to his motherland, Desaix was again recalled by the National Convention, which remembered his audacious exclaims against the terror. Despite the most flattering words that were said about the merits of Desaix, the National Convention made an order to suspend him from service and arrest him again. But when the commissars of the convention arrived to arrest the general, the entire division rose in his protection, and so the arrived commissars had to retreat to Paris. After that case, the convention had to restore Desaix in his position and leave him be. In 1794, Desaix continued to successfully struggle against the coalition, as the commander of the division, proving his high military reputation many times. Very soon, Desaix gained fame as one of the most capable and courageous generals in the French army. Being in the army of General Moreau, he took an active part in the Rhine campaign of 1796. Being a commander of the right flank of the army, Desaix reached vivid progress. He especially distinguished during the retreat of Moreau from Bavaria, during which, covering the retreat of the main forces, he masterfully commanded the rearguard of the army. On April 20, 1797, during the Battle of Desaix against the Austrians, Desaix was heavily wounded by a gunshot in his thigh and was promptly delivered to Strasbourg, where he was in a hospital for 3 months. By that time, Desaix, just like many other generals of the French army, was fascinated by the victories of General Bonaparte in Italy, which was able to overshadow the rest of the warlords of France in a couple of months. The glory of his winning battles was heard across the entire republic. Wanting to meet Bonaparte in person and become a member of his team, Desaix headed from Strasbourg to Italy. On August 27, Desaix arrived at the headquarters of the Italian army, where he met Bonaparte. The two generals immediately were imbued with mutual respect and later became close friends. "Finally I met a great man. You can't even imagine his character, spirit, and genius." In April 1798, Desaix, following the order of Bonaparte, was actively engaged in the preparations for the Egyptian campaign, which also included the creation of proper infantry and cavalry units. In May of the same year, Desaix departed to Egypt, being a part of Bonaparte's army. During the campaign, being in charge of the vanguard, Desaix was extremely successful. On June 21, he took part in the Battle of the Pyramids. In a short time, Desaix was able to seize the entire Upper Egypt. During his time in Egypt, Desaix showed himself as a skilled military administrator. Ruling the conquered country, he was maximally tolerant of the local customs and traditions, which helped him gain the gratitude and respect of the local population. Having found out about the failures of the French army in the war against the Second Coalition, Bonaparte hastily left Egypt and arrived in France. Desaix was left to control Egypt with General Kleber. After the armistice agreements were signed with the English and Turks, Desaix departed for France on board a merchant ship. However, by the Toscana shore, the ship was captured by the British squadron of Admiral Keith. Despite the fact that according to the concluded agreement, Desaix had the right to get to France, Keith ordered to arrest the general and proclaim him a prisoner of war. The admiral told the French general that he allocates 1 franc per every imprisonment day of Desaix. I believe that you, who proclaimed the approach of the general equity of people in your country, will be happy with the fact that I will feed you on par with the rest of the soldiers? I am happy, but while I was in Egypt, I dealt with the Mamluks and Arabs, who were masters of their word, unlike you, Admiral. So the only thing I ask is you to rid me of your presence. After 1 month in captivity, Desaix was freed and exchanged. On April 29, 1800, he returned to Toulon, where, after the quarantine, he departed to the army. Desaix appeared in Bonaparte's army right in the middle of the campaign, 2 days before the main battle had to begin. Bonaparte was very happy to see his military friend and immediately assigned 2 divisions under the Desaix command. On the next day, Bonaparte ordered Desaix to move towards the Novi city with one of the divisions. On June 14, following the order, Desaix was on the march, when he heard the sounds of a remote cannonade from Marengo. Despite the fact that the general had a direct order from the commander-in-chief to move towards Novi, Desaix immediately turned his division and rushed towards the roars of guns in a fast march. That decision was fateful. Desaix led his division to Marengo when the entire front of Bonaparte's army was retreating, and the Austrian commander-in-chief had already sent out his couriers carrying the news of the received decisive victory. At the very last moment, Desaix deployed his troops and personally led the attack without any hesitation. Unfortunately, the very first gun volley of the Austrian battalions hit Desaix right in his heart. The nearby soldiers rushed to their commander to try to pull him out of the battle, but the general died almost instantaneously. On his dying breath, he only said, "Hide my death from the soldiers, for that may interfere with our success." Yet the death of the beloved commander could not be hidden. The soldiers, having found out about the death of their commander, became so enraged that they have completely wrecked the Austrian battalions in a matter of few hours. The battle was won. Despite the glory of the victory, Bonaparte was deeply saddened by the death of his friend and told, "I am in deep grief caused by the death of a man, whom I loved and respected the most." The funeral of Desaix was very pompous. Bonaparte ordered to bury the man on the top of the Alps, in Mount St. Bernard Abbey. Bonaparte recognized Desaix as one of the best and most prospective commanders in France. Desaix used to live only for the sake of war and glory, not being interested in other things. Fortune and attractions of the civil life were not of his interest. He used to dress slovenly and he was of a short height. Despite his high military rank, during the battles, he was side by side with his soldiers. He usually slept on the ground, most often, under a cannon, wrapping himself in a greatcoat. He used to have food together with his soldiers. The general's name is engraved on the Arc de Triomphe in Paris. Also, a cenotaph was erected in honor of Desaix in Strasbourg. A monument to the general was erected in the city of Clermont-Ferrand.